It's ironic, isn't it, how often phrases we ourselves utter can be turned back on us. Haven't you experienced that? The classic, "Funny how when it was about you." It's a common refrain for those who tend to express themselves freely. Have you ever noticed individuals who possess an undeniable magnetism? They enter a room, and without uttering a single word, their presence is immediately felt by everyone. This isn't mere chance or good fortune. It's a deliberate strategy. While most people are quick to speak, to justify, and to explain, those who truly grasp the nature of power choose silence. They observe, they wait. They effortlessly cultivate an air of mystery, prompting others to speculate on their thoughts. Some individuals possess the remarkable ability to perceive and comprehend the dynamics of a room without uttering a single syllable. They step into a space and, without speaking, can discern who holds authority, who is insecure, and who is merely bluffing. They pick up on unspoken tensions, on deceptions masked by smiles, and on intentions concealed behind politeness. These individuals are natural strategists, and their skill stems not from any magical or supernatural gift, but from a highly developed capacity for deep observation. We inhabit a noisy world, where everyone clamors to be heard, yet few truly know how to listen. There's a prevalent illusion that those who speak the most wield the greatest control, but the reality is that genuine power resides with those who understand the art of silence and observation. Sun Tzu wisely noted, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." However, truly knowing others demands more than just words. It necessitates perceiving what remains unsaid. Most people equate observing with simply looking, but looking is not the same as seeing. Observing entails capturing what lies beneath the surface. It's noticing the slight hesitation before a response, the subtle shift in someone's gaze, the tension in their shoulders as they feign relaxation, the change in vocal tone that betrays hidden insecurity. Words can deceive, but the body invariably reveals the truth. Machiavelli profoundly understood this. To him, the game of power wasn't solely played with speeches but with the ability to interpret gestures, actions, and omissions. The astute strategist doesn't rely on spoken words but on what is revealed in the nuances. Consider the boss who praises the team while avoiding eye contact, the friend who pledges support but crosses their arms and subtly steps back when you're in need, the person who smiles but presses their lips together immediately after, suppressing something they don't want to say, the colleague who agrees with you but keeps their feet pointed towards the exit, poised to leave, the leader who claims confidence but maintains tense shoulders and restless hands. What is truly essential is rarely spoken aloud. It resides in the gestures, the pauses, the omissions. If just these reveal so much, imagine the insights gained from observing those who talk impulsively and act predictably, those who cannot control their emotions and thus become vulnerable. In chess, the impatient player moves their pieces without a plan and falls into traps. Life often mirrors this. Have you noticed how some individuals always seem to know the right course of action at the opportune moment? How they respond precisely, without hesitation, as if they had already anticipated events. This isn't solely about intelligence or strength. It's about keen perception. But observation isn't just about understanding others. It also reveals your true self. If you lack awareness of your own emotional triggers, you become easily manipulated. Do you become irritated when someone ignores you? Feel uncomfortable with silence in a conversation? Does your anxiety escalate when someone takes an extended time to reply? Each of these reactions speaks volumes about you, and a more observant individual can exploit these vulnerabilities. If you don't comprehend your own emotions, there will always be someone who does and who will use them to control you. If you wish to test your observation skills, try dedicating an entire day to simply observing. When someone speaks, notice the subtle gestures, pay close attention to their body language, their tone of voice, and the pauses between their words. By the end of the day, you will undoubtedly have gained valuable insights. It's crucial to understand that while everyone desires to be heard, few truly grasp the power inherent in remaining silent. There exists a significant distinction between those who speak merely to occupy the void and those who understand how to bide their time for the opportune moment. It is precisely this element of unpredictability that renders silence such a potent ally. Silence is not synonymous with passivity. In fact, it is an active and deliberate strategy. It affords you the opportunity to observe before acting, to carefully weigh your words, to perceive hidden agendas, and to dismantle opponents without prematurely exposing yourself. Reacting in the heat of the moment is a fundamental error. When we speak impulsively, we inadvertently reveal our vulnerabilities, divulge information that could potentially be used against us, and, without realizing it, become predictable to others. For Machiavelli, power resided not solely in what was articulated but, more importantly, in what was deliberately left unsaid. A ruler who engages in excessive talk becomes a prisoner of their own pronouncements. Similarly, a strategist who unveils their plans prematurely forfeits any potential advantage. When someone attempts to provoke you, they anticipate a reaction. When someone applies pressure, their aim is to destabilize you. However, by maintaining silence, you effectively dismantle their carefully constructed game. The void created by your lack of response compels the other person to question themselves, to fill the silence with their own underlying insecurities. This dynamic plays out in arguments, negotiations, and even interpersonal relationships. Often, the absence of words carries a weight far exceeding any spoken argument. Silence also serves as a vital tool for self-control. In moments of crisis, the individual who maintains composure automatically assumes a position of paramount importance within the room. Amidst chaos, while others are engaged in talking, shouting, or attempting to impose their viewpoints, the one who observes with deliberate calm exudes authority. Excessive talking can be a hasty maneuver that places you at a disadvantage. Conversely, mastering silence involves more than simply ceasing to speak. It entails learning to endure the discomfort of emptiness, both your own and that of others. Silence can feel almost unbearable because it compels us to confront our own internal thoughts, but it is precisely within that space that true power resides. If you wish to test this principle in practice, try dedicating 15 minutes each day to complete silence. No phone, no music, no distractions. Just you and your thoughts. Initially, this may feel peculiar, but over time, you will realize that the more accustomed you become to your own silence, the less the silence of others will affect you. Silence is not an absence. It is a presence. It is not a weakness. It is a strategy. And when employed judiciously, it can be the most potent tool at your disposal. There exists a form of power that does not necessitate forceful imposition through words, a power that is constructed in absence, in empty space, in the doubt that arises when someone awaits a response and does not receive one. Silence, when wielded with intention, transforms into an instrument of control. It cultivates mystery, compels others to project their own interpretations, generates discomfort, and ultimately drives the other person to strive to fill the void. Those who comprehend this dynamic can become adept manipulators. Sun Tzu astutely observed that all warfare is predicated on deception, and silence stands as one of the most sophisticated means of deception, requiring no outright lies. In a negotiation, for instance, the individual who speaks less typically holds the upper hand. Those who fill the space with excessive words betray their anxiety, divulge unnecessary information, and reveal their intentions prematurely. Meanwhile, those who understand how to remain silent force the other person to talk more, to expose insecurities, and often to concede without realizing it. Silence creates a tension that can be used to bend an opponent without ever raising your voice. Leaders who cultivate a certain degree of mystery tend to be more respected because their unpredictability makes them harder to manipulate. Predictable people who always say what they think and react immediately are easy to control, but those who leave questions unanswered, who create strategic pauses, who don't immediately reveal their emotions or intentions, exert an invisible control over others. Silence can also be a form of punishment in arguments and relationships. The absence of a response is often more painful than any harsh words. When someone expects a reaction and is met with emptiness, the frustration becomes unbearable. This happens because human beings have a psychological need for closure. We want to know what the other person thinks, to close loops, to understand what is happening, and when that is denied to us, we are forced to deal with uncertainty. Those who understand this mechanism can use it to maintain control over the emotions of others. This strategy, when used abusively, can become a cruel weapon. It can isolate, weaken, and create emotional dependence in the other person, who begins to desperately seek any sign of validation. Great manipulators do this. They alternate moments of attention with long periods of absence, forcing the other person to struggle to regain their attention. This creates a cycle of submission and desire that traps the victim in a psychological game. Silence, therefore, is not neutral. It can be a tool of power or an instrument of domination. It can be used to maintain calm and strategy, but also to confuse, punish, and manipulate. Knowing when to use it and when to break it is what separates those who control it from those who are controlled by it. But how can one learn this? Absence sometimes speaks louder than any word. In the world of power, winning does not always mean advancing. Sometimes it means retreating at the right moment, letting the other person get lost in assumptions, creating impact not through presence, but through its absence. When utilized well, emptiness becomes an element capable of generating tension, attracting attention, and destabilizing those who expect predictability. In cinema, a well-placed silence can be more unsettling than a scream. In art, the blank space on a canvas can be as expressive as the paint. The same happens in human relationships and power dynamics. Planned absence provokes curiosity, generates speculation, and leaves room for others to project their own fears and expectations. Sun Tzu's The Art of War states that the best way to win a conflict is not to face it head-on, but to strip it of its meaning. Instead of resisting a direct attack, it is better to withdraw, letting the enemy exhaust themselves. This principle applies to many situations, from debates where silence disarms the opponent to relationships where distance makes the other person realize your true value. Machiavelli explores the idea that a ruler who is excessively present becomes predictable and loses the element of mystery, but one who withdraws at the right moment increases their authority because their absence is felt. The people do not value the leader who is always available. They value the one whose presence seems rare and necessary. The power of inaction is often underestimated. In a world where everyone seeks visibility, where every minute of silence feels like a lost opportunity, those who know how to step back stand out effortlessly. Absence can be interpreted in many ways. It can command respect, instill fear, or awaken desire. Everything depends on the intention behind it. Think about that friend who disappears from social media, and suddenly everyone wants to know where they've been. The coworker who doesn't give immediate responses, making others wait in anticipation, or someone you've just met who doesn't reply to messages right away, making you think about them even more. Silence and absence play with our minds. When something is no longer always available, we begin to see value in what we previously overlooked. This strategy requires control. When overused, it can alienate rather than attract. Becoming too inaccessible can lead to being forgotten rather than desired. The secret is balance, knowing when to disappear and when to reappear, when to create emptiness and when to fill it. Observing before acting gives us an advantage. Avoiding impulsive reactions protects us from emotional traps. Maintaining silence in the face of provocation destabilizes those who expect a response. Creating a certain level of mystery makes us less predictable and therefore harder to manipulate. But all of this requires a level of discipline that few are willing to develop. If you want to apply this wisdom in your daily life, start small. Train your observation skills. Instead of always trying to intervene or respond immediately, practice simply listening. Observe expressions, gestures, and the moments when the silence of others reveals more than their words. Test the power of pausing conversations and indecisions in any situation where the impulse would be to speak without thinking. And most importantly, try reducing your unnecessary exposure, whether on social media, in everyday interactions, or intense moments. See what happens when you become less accessible. Silence